can't get through. I've been trying hard to reach you, 'cause I don't know what to do. Oh brother, I can't believe it's true. I'm so scared about the future, and I wanna talk to you.
So the other day I was in the store. I normally work from home on Mondays because Sundays are a really long day. Our staff works from home. And my wife had given me a little bit of a to-do list because we had some people coming over that night. So like, all right, cool, I'll go get whatever we need, and then I'll come home and finish up my work. And so I went out to the store, walk up to the counter, and I said, hey, I'm here to pick up X, Y, and Z. And the guy looked at me like I was having a seizure and had like 18 heads. Like the guy was like, I have no clue what you're talking about. I was like, my wife came in here. I wanted to be like Chris Tucker, you know, in Rush Hour. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Like he just like was looking at me. He wasn't sure. And so it's like, here's where my wife came. She came on a Saturday. Here's what it is. The lady wrote it down. He's like, we have no list where people write stuff down. I was like, no, you have a list. Like my wife said I need to come here. So I'm texting her, and she is immediately letting me know that this is not okay. And he said, on top of that, like not only do we not, you know, we don't have no record of you coming, but everything you're asking for, we don't have. And so then I have to send that text message back. I'm like, hey, and I got the response back, and I didn't read it out loud. Like she's a Christian woman, and so she didn't say anything inappropriate, but I was like, she is letting me know very well that this is not acceptable. And so I let the guy know, hey, you're going to have to work out something because I can't come home empty-handed, or else you're coming home with me. So he goes to the back, and I'm standing around. And this is kind of, you know, a little bit like more like fancy, like healthy type, you know, place that I'm in the grocery store. And I love people watching. And as I'm waiting at the counter, and he goes to the back for a long time, I watched this mom, and her son was about 11 years old. I'm assuming he probably homeschooled or something, or maybe visiting in town because it was normal school day, should be in school. And so I'm watching them, and I don't like just stare at people, but I'll kind of be like, you know, kind of looking out of the side of my eye. And I'm watching, and he has this drink. He's like, Mom, I want, and he starts asking, and I'm like, this is going to be interesting. Mom, I want this drink. And she immediately like shuts that down. She's like, no, you can't have it. And I don't know if you've ever been around kids when they want something. They will stop at nothing. They could be like dumb as a box of rocks, but the moment they want something, they turn into a nuclear physicist. Like they just come up with all sorts of ways to, you know, navigate through. And so this kid is not going to take no for an answer. And so I watch, and he immediately, he's like, Mom, I really want, and he starts reading off the ingredients about how, and he asked, Mom, it could be really good for me. You know, I don't normally, and she's like, come on now, and keeps going. And as they're moving around this like deli counter, I want to keep knowing what's going on. So like I'm just sliding down, just picking up stuff. I'm not buying any of this stuff, just picking it up, and I'm like listening. And he's like, Mom. And then he moves to like, I'm like, this kid is gold. He immediately says, he's like, Mom, after he's been shut down, you look really nice in that outfit today. Like, I'm like, playa, go ahead. Oh, like he is working. His mom, he is trying to break her down. And she's like, I am not having any of that. You need to put that away. And he's holding the drink, telling all this stuff. And then he keeps going. And I'm just keep sliding down the counters. It's moving along. And he's like, Mom, you know what? If I did this, and he's going on about something he doesn't eat at home, but then he could do it. And she is like, no, you cannot have this. And he is just not saying, he's like, Mom, but you have a drink in your hand. Why can't, because she had stopped at the little thing, got a little coffee. And he's like, you have a drink in your hand. Why can't I have one? And she whips her head around like nobody's business. It's like, I know you didn't just, she's like, I'm a grown adult. I have my own money. You don't have money. I can buy what I want because I'm an adult. And I'm like, go ahead. I'm going to use that on my kids. And then he turns around, and I'm like, score one for the away team. He goes, but Mom, I did all my chores, and you have not paid me for the last month of chores. And he stacks that one right on top. And lo and behold, that mom is like, touche. Needless to say, homeboy got a drink. And I was like, that little persistent son of a gun, look at him. And at this point, I am now straight staring at him. I'm like, just watching what's going on. Hey, how's it going? Still waiting for the deli guy so I don't go home to die. Like, and moving there, and it was amazing watching this unfold. And I was like, man, that is how we should be in our prayer life. Just like nonstop, like stop at nothing, talking to God with this just persistent movement. Like, God, I'm going to talk to you all the time. I think you said no, but here I'm going to tell you why you should say yes. Let me tell you. Like, God, I heard what you said, and I want to keep going because I want to be able to talk to you and share with you, and I'm going to stop at nothing to be able to have a conversation with you. The Bible has quite a few accounts when Jesus taught about what it meant to be persistent in prayer. We've been in this series we started last week, Conversations with God. But what does it mean to dispel some of the myths and misconceptions about prayer? And what does it mean to actually live a life where we trust God and trust the prayers that we bring to Him, that God is going to do what only He can do, which is the miraculous? If you have a Bible, I'd love for you to turn over to Luke chapter 11. Luke chapter 11, it's in the New Testament of the Bible. If you don't have a Bible, we give them away for free in the lobby at the Get Connected table. You could stop by there and pick one up. You could download a Bible app as well as the Forefront Church app. We're a little biased, but that's our favorite. All those are free. The Forefront Church app has all the notes that you can take today, different quotes and passages and things that you can email back to yourself. And the reason we give away all that stuff is because we know that if you engage your faith more than just this hour each week, even if you open up the app like 2 times this week, that's 2 times you read the Bible that maybe you didn't before. That's 2 times, 3 times, 4 times that you, instead of scrolling through Facebook, because let's be real, there's not a whole lot going on. You're just not even living life. You're just living through other people's lives. You hop over there, you go, man, I'm able to grow and learn. And over in Luke chapter 11, it actually picks up after what we would call the Lord's Prayer, and we'll be in verse 5 in a moment, where we get this account that Jesus teaches, where he's talking about someone who has been fairly audacious in their ask. And it starts in verse 5 of chapter 11 and following. If you don't have a Bible, it'll be here on the screen. It says, then Jesus said to them, suppose you have a friend and you go to him at midnight. Now right there, things are bad because no real friend is going to come at you at midnight. They know that you're sleeping. It's sleepy time, at least if you're an adult with kids. Like, it's like 8:30. You come to my house at midnight, like, you better be dying or your whole world's blowing up because that is not what friends do. You are now unfriended. Suppose you have a friend and they come to you at midnight. They better need something intense. And they say, friend, lend me 3 loaves of bread. A friend of mine on a journey has come to me and I have no food to offer him. And suppose the one inside answers, like I would, don't bother me. I was sleeping. The door is already locked. My children are in bed. Please do not wake them. And we're already asleep. I can't get up and give you anything. Now, this would be many people's response. Like, maybe you should have gone to the grocery store ahead of time. Maybe you should have made that, but they didn't have that time. Maybe you needed to go to the market. Maybe you needed to plan better. But no. Verse 8, I tell you, even though he will not get up and give you the bread because of friendship, because it's late, he's tired, yet because of, and don't miss this, your shameless audacity to go to a friend in the middle of the night because you weren't prepared to care for another friend and you need something, and so you're just like, I will go and ask because I believe it will happen. Because of your shameless audacity, he will surely get up and give you as much as you need. There's other moments where Jesus talks in these parables, which are timeless stories with a timeless truth that, everyday occurrences, where it says that people would go and they would continue to go and continue to go and continue to go, and finally they got what they were after. We go, man, I want to be somebody who prays like that. Man, I want to be somebody who lives like that. I want to be someone who is trusting God and asking Him, and I get the stuff. Here's the kind of problem with the other side of that, is for many of us, and I don't think this is just me, is that we have prayed those prayers for the healing to happen in a situation that's difficult. And we've gone to God and we've popped the lid off of our anxiety and we've prayed to God, God, help me in this relationship because I just don't know what to do. They're acting a certain way or I'm acting a certain way and I don't know what to do. God, will you just show up? And God, why aren't you answering? And God, I wish I could get that job. All right, can we do that? And we prayed and prayed. And God, where exactly are you in this? And time again, whether it's in our relationships, whether it's in our job, is we pray and pray, and we go, I'm not really getting anywhere, God. God, where are you? Maybe you've said that question inside your head, or maybe you've said it out loud. I know that I have in moments where I just felt frustrated. Yeah, God, where are you? I'm praying these prayers. I'm asking for you to do what you do best, to show up, to do the miraculous, to heal this person, to help me, to do this. God, you're not showing up. What is your problem? And we line up all these things that we're asking and go, God, I just feel like I'm running around in circles, and you're not answering me. During my single days, I had a dog. His name was Poncho. He was a Doberman Greyhound mix. Saved him from the Norfolk SPCA. And when you get a pound dog, they are just thankful to be alive. If you're going to get a dog, get a pound dog. They'll love you forever. And I brought him back to my little apartment with a buddy of mine, and we were living there. And Poncho was kind of this dog. He was just hyper, and he'd bounce everywhere. And I don't even know why I called him Poncho. It just sounded good at the time. I was like, you look like a poncho. I don't know. And he's just like, yeah, he's happy. And when it came to mealtime was when he got most annoying. Because I would sit down in the little, I couldn't even call it a dining room, or it was like a mini table with just 2 chairs tucked away, because it was a tiny apartment. And as soon as I would sit down, it was kind of an open floor plan through the kitchen, into the living room, and everything else. And he would look at me, and then when I wouldn't give him any food, he'd run around and then stop and look at me and wait. And I'd be like, I am not feeding you. You have a bowl of food over there that you turn your nose at, you little ungrateful jerk. Go eat that. And when I wouldn't do it, he'd be like, and run around, and then stop, and run around the thing. And he'd look at me, I'm like, I'm not giving you anything. And eventually, he'd run around, and he'd stop, and if I didn't give him stuff after the 3rd or 4th time, he'd stop and growl at me. I'm like, you're about to go back to Norfolk SPCA. You're about to meet your maker. You will not growl at me. And eventually, I just ignored him. I'm like, I'm going to eat my food. This is good. You have food there. And then eventually he would wind down and stop, and he'd lay his head right on my foot and lay there. Yeah, oh, no. And then after he would stop and he was ready, then take a little piece off and give it to him. And he wouldn't bother me anymore. But in those moments, there was no way I was going to give him what he wanted because he wasn't ready. There's this poem by Russell Kefler, and it goes like this. It says, desperately, helplessly longing I cried. Quietly, patiently, lovingly God replied. I pled and I wept for a clue to my fate, and the Master so gently replied to me, wait. Wait? You say wait? My indignant reply. Lord, I need answers. I need to know why. I'm needing a yes or a go-ahead sign or even a no to which I can resign. Then quietly, softly, I learned of my fate as my master replied again, simply wait. So I slumped in my chair, defeated and taut, and I grumbled to God, so I'm waiting for what? He seemed then to kneel, and his eyes met with mine, and he tenderly said, I could give you a sign. I could shake the heavens, I could darken the sun, I could raise the dead and cause the mountains to run, I could give you all you seek, and pleased you would be, but what you would not have is you wouldn't know me. See, we do not like waiting in our culture. When everything moves so fast and internet connection slows and we lose our minds, or we go through a drive-through and it takes more than 2 minutes and we go, I thought this was fast. Or we lose power and then just our minds explode. What do you mean no power? I don't know what to do. Like everything, we wait in a line at TSA. I can't believe we have to wait in this line. I don't know, maybe for safety. And all of these things don't happen in the time that we want, and we get on the highway and we get in the HOV lane. I thought the HOV lane was supposed to be fast. There's too many people out here. I just can't believe this. And everything has to happen in our time frame. The art and the condition of waiting is not something that you and I really have embraced. We've actually been taught to the contrary. And our culture moves us further and further into the depths of being impatient. And so waiting is a foreign concept that we go, ugh, like a kid looking at a plate with Brussels sprouts. We go, that is not okay. God, you're going to have to do better than that. God, where are you? You need to show up. And I would contend that as we look in these moments where we feel like God isn't there, that we need to come to a place, and my prayer and my hope is that you and I can come to a place that when God's presence feels abysmal, feels like it's not there at all, that you and I would faithfully pray, because faithful prayer is essential in those moments. They would say, God, I trust you. God, I want to listen to you. But we'd say, but Jason, look at all these moments that I prayed, and God just didn't show up. Doesn't this prove something? Well, I would say that it possibly proves this, that God may be withholding an answer to prayer until we, you, me, relinquish control of the outcome and pour your, my complete trust into Him. Why do I need to completely trust Him? Shouldn't He prove Himself and then, because I'm kind of a big deal? Let's go to God and let's talk about how big of a deal you are. That our life is but a vapor, that there have been billions of people that have graced their presence across this earth, and we come and we're here and we're gone, and then there's God. I want to see how that conversation for us goes. God, can you hurry up? I'm kind of a big deal. Tell me more about how big of a deal you are. I know the numbers of hairs on your head, or lack thereof. I know what gives you heartburn, and I know what things you're terrified of that you've never told a soul. I know that you work too hard, and you don't take time to pause. Tell me again how important you are. You see, maybe the reason that we don't get the answer that we're hoping for is because we haven't given our lives in the way that God has already called us to. God, I want you to move in X, Y, and Z. He said, well, actually, I'd really just love you to follow me. We watched it last week with two ladies, we were, getting baptized and surrendering their lives to God in a horse trough as they watched their lives go down and die to themselves and rise up a new creation. We're going to watch it again at the end of next service, and maybe that's you. And you go, I've been praying for years, and I don't see what's happening, and I don't whatever. And I go, when's the time? When was the moment that you surrendered to God? You'd be like, I haven't surrendered to God. I'm waiting for Him to prove Himself. God's going, I need to prove nothing to anyone. But I will and I want to move in your life if you would simply trust me. See, we want to trust God in the big things when we won't trust Him with the one thing that He calls us to, which is our life. And he speaks in these whispers, these moments that sometimes we find it difficult to hear. We talked about it last week, how sometimes we find it difficult to get quiet and get alone and just listen. Love the way Shane Claiborne puts it from the life of the prophet Elijah in the accounts of the Old Testament of the Bible. He shares it this way in his book, The Irresistible Revolution. He says there's this beautiful moment in the Bible when the prophet Elijah feels God's presence. You see, he's been asking God to enter in and to move. And he said, the scriptures say that the great powerful wind tore the mountains apart. And so Elijah's like, maybe this has got it, but God was not in the wind. After the wind, there was an earthquake. And surely he's like, this is the moment that God had been asking and waiting. But after the but God wasn't in the earthquake. After the earthquake came fire. Surely this is it. I've been waiting and praying and hoping and moving. God's going to show up, but the Lord was not in the fire. After the fire came a gentle whisper. It was the whisper of God. And at each one of these pinnacle flagship moments, we just want to toss it out and go, I quit, I give up. God, you need to show up here. And God goes, I am God and you are not. And I'm hoping to teach you a lesson along the way. I'm hoping to grow your heart in your patience, in your love, in your grace, in the same way that I hope that you reflect mine in every single prayer that you pray. But for now, dear child, dear husband, dear wife, dear son and daughter, wait. There's some things that we learn in the waiting. One of the things is waiting is a struggle that you are oblivious to until you wait. I watched this with my children. The first time that we made them wait for something, it's like they got shot. They're like, I can't believe you're making me wait. Oh, shocker, you have to wait. It is so unfair. No, this is a good lesson. Life isn't fair. Well, that kid, we'll go out to dinner. The other night we went out to Why Not Pizza. They were having a fundraiser for our kids' school. Looked over, there was a table, mom, dad, 5 kids. 5 kids. Who does that? Overwhelmed with 3. Good on you, 5 kids. Each one of the kids had a tablet. Every single one of them, mom and dad, not even talking to each other, had the phones. If you had taken those phones and tablets away, World War III right there in Why Not in Kempsville. Nope, because those kids, in the moment, when's our food coming? Hey, mom, dad, when's our food coming? It'll come eventually. When's our food coming? Play your tablet. Do whatever. And our girls looked over, why can't we have tablets? Because you need to learn to sit still. I don't want to sit still. Well, there's a lot of things that I don't want to do, but we're going to learn to sit still. So sit there. But I want a tablet. I can tell you what you can have in a second. Parents are like, you're so mean. No, I'm hoping that as we teach them waiting in these moments that really have no bearing on life, that they'll learn and begin to articulate what it means to wait. So when they go to God, they don't go, God, hurry up. I'm on a time schedule. Give me what I want, when I want. That they don't treat God like Burger King. And that they dive into a relationship with him where they actually trust that as they wait, that God is still at work. You see, the only thing harder than waiting on God is wishing that you had. There's plenty of moments where I prayed and prayed and prayed, and I stopped about here, and I go, God, I'm going to take over. You're taking a little too long. I think I know better. And God's kind of like, this should be fun. Let's watch how this plays out. And it always ended badly. And then I would go to God and go, God, why didn't you just show up? You knew I was going to do whatever. He's like, I was trying to build in you character and value and patience. If you had just waited one more day, I would have said yes. But now since you went and you were super dumb, Jason, now I'm going to say no. And then you get to live with the reality of no and the repercussions of not waiting. It's the only thing harder than waiting on God is wishing that you had. The second piece of waiting is waiting proves whether or not you simply are following God for his affirmation. God, here's my plan. Here's what I want to do. Just sign on the dotted line. We'll be good. But wait, I thought I was the Lord of your life. Well, you're kind of just the guy that I'm glad gives me the ticket into heaven. Take all this stuff. Just sign off. Just say okay. This is especially true of all of us that have anxiety and worry and planning and all of those things mixed in with a little OCD. That you go, I have a plan, and I think it's really good because God gave me a brain, and I know how to think, and so I'm going to give him my plan. Why would God not like my plan? Because I am super smart, and I'm a planner, and I'm good, and I'm trying to honor him. And God goes, I have some other things in store for you. Rips up the plan, and we go, oh, that was a really good plan. See, waiting on God begins to ask the question, are you more of a God give me or God teach me person? God, give me the things that I want, I desire, that I move in. Or God, I'm coming to you and I need to learn and I'm unsure about this moment. And so when it comes to the job, I'm going to trust that you know better than I do. And so God, I just want to lean into you and ask, can you teach me what it means to trust you and wait for an answer? Or we go, God, give me the answer right now, in this way, in this fashion, in this time. If it doesn't get here by the 21st at 3 p.m., you and I are going to have words. And he's like, yeah, I know who wins that. And it's not you. But I want to help you, and so I'm not going to give you that on the 21st. I'm actually going to wait 4 more days. Or actually, and then if you really get antsy, I'm going to wait 4 more weeks. Because you're not ready for what you're asking for, and so I need to give you time. Which is the other piece of waiting, is that waiting shows us that God's delay never destroys his purpose. That God has a purpose to move in your life and in mine, and sometimes when we move along and we go, oh, God doesn't love me. I remember thinking these things when I was single. Because somehow, somewhere along the way, the church convinced people that are single that being single is like a curse. Oh, if I don't have somebody, it's the end of the world. And so I remember going through my early, young adult years and into my 40 years and just kind of going like, God, you just don't care about me. There's not that girl that you just plop in my lap. That was before the days of all those different Christian Mingle and eHarmony and all that other stuff. It was just you had to go out and find somebody. You legit had to put in work. And I was like, God, can you just drop her right here and be like, sweet, and move along? And I was like, God, and I prayed and prayed and prayed and went through all these, because I kept pushing. So I kept jumping into relationships. And then God's like, I'm going to bring you someone, but maybe you need to be more content with your relationship with me instead of thinking that somehow supplementing that with someone is going to solve your problems. And I learned that lesson in a difficult way. And then I got content with just being me and God. And wouldn't you know it, right when I got content with being me and God, I stopped asking for that thing, that person, what I thought was fulfillment, because I was fulfilled in God. And God goes, here, I'm going to give you someone you don't deserve. And I was like, all right, married up. And she couldn't get rid of me. Because God does not delay these things to derail his purpose. And the difference is we wait. It's the difference between no and not yet. And for many of us, we're sitting thinking, God told me no, God told me no, God hates me. And we're freaking out. And on the inside, we're just squirming. And God's going, I love you, but you are a grown adult acting like a 5-year-old, throwing a tantrum. You're not ready for what I want to bring you. And so it's not no, it's just not yet. And there are things time and time again in my life, I've watched in other people's lives, and some of your lives, where you've asked and asked and asked, then all of a sudden it happened, and you go, wow. God wasn't telling me no, just not yet. One of the other lessons that I've learned and that we learn in waiting is waiting teaches us to move with gentleness. If you wait and you're in prayer and all these things, when you meet somebody that's just really ornery, somebody that's just irritable, somebody that you're just like, wow, they got a case of the Mondays. They're just irritable. The natural inclination is to be like, if they treat you poorly, it's like, oh no, you didn't. And we launch back at them. You know what waiting in prayer will do? Waiting in prayer will begin to teach you to move in gentleness, and instead of launching at them, you'll go, I've been praying for a long time, and there are days where I get really frustrated. I wonder if possibly I am not like a unicorn, an anomaly, like there are other people that are going through things, and so instead of launching out, we go, I wonder what's going on with them. We begin to empathize and go, wow, are they okay? Can I help them? You begin to move in gentleness. You might be like, Jason, I've been waiting a long time, and all that sounds perfectly great, but I've got prayers stacked up like you wouldn't believe. And where is God? And I would kind of flip that and go, hey, maybe you weren't relying on God before, but look at the stacks and stacks of prayers that you're praying. You are conditioning yourself to talk to God, to trust in God. And maybe these things have nothing to do with the answer that you're hoping for, and they have everything to do with the collective movement of prayer. And maybe the waiting is exactly what you need, because there's an answer underneath it all. Moving back to the poem that we were at. You'd never know, should your pain quickly flee, what it means that my grace is sufficient for thee. Yes, your dearest dreams overnight would come true, but oh, the lost if you missed what I'm doing in you. So be silent, my child, and in time you will see that the greatest of gifts is to truly know me. And though often my answers seem terribly late, my most precious answer of all is still wait. See, even in the moments that you feel like God is not showing up, even in those moments, He is showing up. He has not left you. He has not deserted you. He is loving you, and He is teaching you. And so some of the most beautiful things you can do is wait. Why don't you pray with me?